the Remembrance, a path we once thought we knew very well. But with the release of the latest Myriad Celestia, we've been left to question everything we know about this path along with its Aeon. Because, to say the very least, Evernight has a problem with this path and wishes to expose the seedy underbelly of the Garden of Recollection. We've seen the good and relatively harmless memo keepers like Black Swan, but we have also seen the memo snatchers that lurk in the shadows wishing to steal the memories of those they hope are unaware of their tactics. But Evernight seems to know the truth about this path and the dark secrets they hide along with their lies. But is she even trustworthy, to say the least? Especially with the Enigmata allegations that are currently circulating. And it is obvious enough that Black Swan didn't tell us nearly enough about this world of Amphorius before sending us to it, so is this all a plot to lure us into a trap? Well, I can think of a few answers as to what this is and what this Myriad Celestia truly means. Because this is the hidden lies of the Remembrance revealed. Okay, so we have to address that March is the rosy celestial maiden that helped the people of Amphorius long before we got there. Something I'll have to explain later because there's a huge contention with that later on, and she is the one that helped Trebios. So let's start off with what Evernight is. Well, she is the complete memory of March 7. She is a separate consciousness that shares March's body, who shields March's innocence from the calluses of reality. So if something traumatizing happens, March won't remember, but Evernight will. Remember, Evernight even has access to March's unconscious memories, otherwise she wouldn't have been able to answer Dan Heng's question. So when she says March 7th regained my memories, this just means that she has been reunited with her other half. Because the March we know seems to only have been the pure innocent part of her that Evernight cherishes. And the reason why she is so dark and gives off such a knowing energy is because she has experienced more and has witnessed more darkness and more wrong. And I believe that she at some point split herself from March entirely, causing March to get stuck in the 6-phased ice that the Express crew found her in. This was her first memory loss. But since she returned to the garden, because that is where Amphorius is, Evernight found her once again trapped by the Garden of Recollection's tricks. And the reason why I say this is, again, because the Garden of Recollection is the reason why Evernight split herself from March. Let me explain, because here is where things are going to get crazy. March is a child of remembrance, and until now, we didn't really know what that meant. But Evernight tells us that she was born from that shattered lumen flux, which, from context clues, we can tell is Fuli's physical form shattering. Something we also didn't know was possible, and I'll address that later, because this means that March was created from Fuli's divine body the same way Iron Tomb was a part of Noose. And just like Iron Tomb, Evernight is ticked at the Remembrance, just like Iron Tomb is ticked at the Erudition. So not only does this mean that March is part Aeon, but this also means that she would be a high-ranking member of the Remembrance Path faction. So why are they doing this, and why are they trapping her? Well, this is where the treachery comes in, and why Evernight says that they lurk and they covet. Because it seems that there are some jealous memo keepers in the Garden of Recollection that like to trick people. Which not only reveals that the Garden is not as cohesive of a faction as we thought, but there may also be a full-on faction war going on. Think about it. We've got the Black Swan-like memo keepers who do their part for the Garden, we've got the Cremators who are labeled as radicals, and then there's the memo snatchers that straight up break the memo keeper rules. There is a lot going on. So if the Aeon, the leader of all things Remembrance, were to shatter, what would happen? A battle for supremacy. And poor young March 7th, who was just spawned into existence, fell into the hands of those memo keepers who lurk and covet. Because naturally a child of remembrance, a shard of Fuli's divine body, would be much stronger than a normal memo keeper. So what are these treacherous betrayers to do? Trap them, seal them away, or even send them to their demise. Because when March was born from Fuli, she was watched by the Garden's pawns and then buried away with their dastardly lies, as Evernight would say. And though we don't exactly know how, we have a slight idea. Because when March was heading into Amphorius, Cyrene found her and urged her not to go, because she had seen other people go in and never return. And I think this is where things get really dark, because March may have not been the only victim. There may have just been other children of remembrance kidnapped by memo keepers and tricked into entering Emphorius. This is all a trap that they have been running for a long time. But let's slow down a bit, because Evernight isn't telling this story correctly. She's lying too. Hear me out. We know that the Memo Keepers did this to March because these hands are the same ones that Black Swan uses in her ultimate. Though I don't want to blame Black Swan for this. We also know that when March helped Trebios, this was her first time in Emphorius before Evernight helped her escape, because Evernight's manipulation of Orynyx was the reason why Cyrene got the dream about how to start the eternal recurrence in the first place. And when the cycles reset, Trebi is already a demigod. We saw this twice with us and Castellana. So March had to be here to help Trebios before the eternal recurrence started, and she couldn't have been looking for us because she didn't know us yet. Weird, right? That means the 33,550,336 cycles all happened as March 7th was gone. And she showed up and left before the eternal recurrence started. And there is no way that Cyrene could be here before March because she wasn't born yet. She shares a generation with Phynon, and Phynon, Mighty, and Cyrene all got there around the same time. We saw that happen as well, and by that time, Ceridra was already dead. So not only does this all prove that March has been to Emphorius twice, but we are also seeing her second time entering here, because she saw Cyrene. And it is after going through this door that she is reunited with Evernight, meaning that Evernight has been on Emphorius for longer than Castellana has. More supporting evidence of this is the fact that Fuli shattered a long time ago, because if they were shattered, then they wouldn't have been able to gaze at us. Okay, so quick recap, I know that was a lot. Remembrance faction war is happening, children of remembrance get spawn camped by evil memo keepers, they trap them in Emphorius, so March, after being trapped, split herself in two in order to escape, leaving her trauma and most of her power in one half, that being Evernight, and her innocence in the other, that being March. And if that's confusing, think about how Focalors split herself in two, with Farina being the innocent half and Focalors being the divine half. It's like that. And it is for this reason that Evernight fawns over March so much. It's like looking at a pure version of yourself in the mirror. So that is the March 7th Evernight situation. Cause now we gotta talk about Fuli, because we had this Aeon all wrong. Turns out the reason why this Aeon has no origin story is because it reincarnates and has no real start or end. Because like all memetic entities, Fuli only exists in memory and has no physical form. But for reasons that have yet to be explained, they solidify, shatter, and then recreate themselves. And the only reason I can see them doing this is to create children of remembrance. And this could either be something the Aeon periodically does, or just something they did in response to their followers being at war with each other. Because according to what other Aeons do, the species they bless kinda just runs the show. For Sheepe, it's Holovians. For Nanook, it's those who were recreated by them, the Lord Ravagers, and for Lan, it's, well, whoever got trolled by the Abundance More, the three long life species. So the children of remembrance, the beings born from the shards of Fuli, should be the leaders of the remembrance. But they aren't, because they got spawn camped. Turns out sending newborns to settle a civil war wasn't the best idea, Fuli. But back on topic. If Fuli does this shatter thing periodically, that means that Fuli has a cycle of death and rebirth through memories, meaning that they themselves go through cycles and are stuck in a self-imposed eternal recurrence. Which sounds so fitting to me because heck, how can you expect to recreate the universe with memories if you can't recreate yourself, right? But with the Fuli situation and the Evernight timeline explained, where do we go from here? Well, the only thing left to address is Evernight's plan for Emphorius, because this place is more than a prison world for our Chrysosairs, because all evidence points towards this place being a death sentence for all children of remembrance left here to be forgotten. But there is a single crucial word missing when Evernight says the remembrance chose blank, leaving Emphorius in nothing but a desolate midnight. So, in one way or another, we can understand that the remembrance, despite knowing about Iron Tomb and the threat that it poses to the universe, just left it here, Why? Well, if anyone found out that they were throwing Fuli's children into the meat grinder, odds are they would be facing some grave consequences from all sides of the Civil War. So I think they kept this whole thing under wraps for this reason. So Evernight, being someone who has experienced every single cycle since the pre-cycle event of Tribio stealing the core flame of passage, she wants to be rid of this world entirely, planning on letting the melody of oblivion resound from this world. What she means by oblivion, we don't know entirely, but she probably means erasing this world entirely, leaving March to continue her journeys with the Express crew. Because that is her sole purpose, protect March's innocence so that she can live a blissful life. So as a timeline for all these events put together in order for the sake of clarity, the Remembrance was having a faction war with itself, Fuli Shattered, which created Children of Remembrance, and one of the sinister faction's Memo Keepers tricked these innocent children into going to Amphorius. March was likely one of the first victims of this, so she traveled through Amphorius, probably also mothering Oryx in that time, and then something happened. Now, I'm not sure what happened, but this is where I'm going to say that she escaped by splitting herself into the March we know and Evernight, with Evernight's memory staying in Amphorius and March leaving in a block of 6 phased ice. So March started a new life of trailblazing and Evernight stayed behind. In the meantime, the Memo Keepers kept tricking Remembrance kids into going to Amphorius, and during the Eternal Recurrence, Cyrene sees them and is unable to help. Then March returned and reunited with the memories of Evernight, to which I'm sure Evernight was overjoyed and saddened at the same time, because she realized that her other self was still alive and well with a ton of happy memories, but was now stuck in prison again. But in her time stuck on Amphorius, she has had the time to comb through all the memories of everything that has ever been on this world, so she knows about the 13th core flame and has been slipping information about it through dreams ever since. This is why Tribi has that weird dream where the symbol pops up. Now, why she's outright lying in this Myriad Celestia about March looking for her friends from beyond the sky as she helps Tribios, I don't know. But that is impossible and very much enigmata. Because once again, Tribios taking the core flame of passage happens before the cycles start. We have seen the beginning of the cycles. Every time the cycles start, Tribios is already a demigod because she's small. Castellana went to Hysolins as soon as he started his journey in the first cycle, and she's small. We, along with Cyrene, went to see Saridra at the latest cycle start, and Tribi is still small. Something is wrong here, and someone is lying. The only way for March to help Tribios is for her to have been here a long time ago before the Eternal Recurrence started. Because Evernight is telling the story as if she wasn't, and she was just looking for us and she just came across Tribios. That is impossible. The cycles don't reset that far. Why is she lying? March was here twice. She was on Amphorius before in order to leave Evernight here and become Oryx's mother, and now she's back. And Evernight is telling lies for no reason. But in a matter of hours, we will know exactly why. The patch is updating today, and I hope you are all hyped. Because this is the hidden lies of the Remembrance revealed. Well, we'll see how this video ages, won't we? I know you guys are gonna have a field day clowning me if I'm wrong, but that is just the risk I take. Either way, I will be doing my recap as soon as I finish the story, as is the routine, and all lies and secrets will be laid bare by then. Hopefully. I'm sure a lot of you were hyped about the whole March helping Tribios thing, but never really thought about the implications of it, right? Because I only thought about this when I was writing this script. That happens quite often, actually. Breakthroughs happen when you write down your thoughts. And I don't know who to trust at this point. We've got liars all over the place. Zandar lied, Cypher lies, Evernight lies, and apparently the Remembrance lies too. But Black Swan told me that memories are supposed to be true and honest. I don't know what to do anymore. But what do you guys think? Be sure to let me know, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace, y'all.